let's talk about just as much as we know what organizers are looking for, we want to be aware of what they are not looking for. Okay. Our job is to equip you so that you can be made for the TEDx stage. So they're not looking for salesmen and women, right? So that's why the strategy behind how you're going to leverage this experience for your business is so crucial, right? Because you actually cannot sell from the stage, Jacqueline, right? So they don't want you to be that person, right? Oh, this is the book that I just, that I just wrote. This is the what I do in my business. They don't want you to talk about yourself. Again, it's about service. And they're also not looking for amateurs. So there are some of you, and I recognize that you may not have given a talk to an audience beyond your Toastmasters or maybe your church congregation
or the boardroom,
right? Right. So you may be just starting out, right? However, I want you to know that while you don't have to be a superstar standout speaker, you still should not. This should not be your first stage, right? If it is, you got to get some more experience, and that's okay, right? Because the TEDx organizers want to know that you've invested your time, your talent, your treasure in getting some skills that can accomplish their goals too.
So it's all about how do you compress the gaps? If you had joined us earlier, we've been able to support persons who, they've went from talking to the boardroom to now talking.
And some not even talking, right? I got some testimony. I didn't even want to ever share with what we got some testimony.
Yeah, to be able to talk to 12 million people. Like, how do you do that quantum leap? Is being able to really thread these gaps. So once an organizer see you compress those gaps, you might be able to say, yeah, I speak to 400 people every quarter, and they're like, oh, okay, good. Even if you can't prove that, but if you've been able to show competency, am I talking to somebody here? Like you sat in presentations and you're like, I could knock that out of the park. Anybody been in an audience, and you've seen someone do something, it's like, I could
do that.
I think I could do that, and probably even better, because I've learned, let's be honest, typing in the chat, that's me, because I've learned that the people who are on the stage, hear this carefully, it's not that they're better, they just had the courage, Charmaine. It's not that they're more brilliant than you or more connected than you. It's because they've applied the formula to success.
That's right.
A mentor of mine once told me that the greatest speakers, the greatest singers, the greatest orators are mainly found sitting in the audience. The greatest orators, the greatest speakers, the change agents have been always found in the audience. And our call is to take you from that audience and put you on that stage, because we know there is something great inside of you. Come on, type it in chat. I know that too. Come on, I need you to agree with me.
I know that too.
I know that too.
I know that too. So let's talk about these rules. We have several rules that we want you to know that you must follow for the TEDx stage. Remember, this is a masterclass, so we want you to be able to take these techniques and run with them. Understand that it is a conversation and not a commercial. This highlights our last point, where you're not selling this thing, right? You are absolutely being intentional about, if I only had 10 minutes to share 4 things with a person that could radically change their lives without me having to get anything in return, what would those 4 things be? That is the power of having a conversation that is worth sharing. So we want to know, like our speaker, Renako, right? He started out wanting to actually use TEDx to directly promote his business. He's like, yeah, if I get on a TEDx stage, this is what's going to happen. People are going to book me to do their video and photography, because he's a videographer. And we're just like, no, Renako, let us unpack what your true purpose is, so that you can actually use this and inspire people, as well as inevitably have an impact on your business. So you can tell.
Yeah, so we were able to transition what he does in an expert way, especially during the pandemic, where everything, moved virtual. And we said to him, why not consider having a discussion of how to create deeper connections in a disconnected world? how to create deeper connections in a disconnected world.
world.
Because, Lindsay, everybody is friends on Facebook, everybody knows somebody, but one of the things this pandemic showed us that people were dealing with a lot of disconnection, isolation. And he was able to have to weave this discussion about creating deeper connections, using videography, using storytelling, using that visual representation, and how he was able to connect not just companies through his service, but more so connect families.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Connect grandmas with grandpas, training. He talked about a simple experience, Jackie, of how he taught his mother how to use Zoom, his aged mother who doesn't know technology, right? How he was able to teach her that so that she could stay connected with her grandchildren and family members, and the stories behind that. So he didn't come to the stage, Bianca, to say, hey, you could use this, and this is how you tell a story, and this is how you weave, an email campaign and whatnot. Choose me.
Yeah.
It wasn't about it. It was how he could really have this discussion, solving the problem of mental illness, of isolation, of suicide, and ageism. Because if you aren't aware, the New York Times did a study mid 2019 that there was a large group of persons who were left behind because of this pandemic.
Yeah.
Being able to get online, being able to stay connected. Are there any of my folks here who like face-to-face interaction? Yeah.
I do.
Right? Face-to-face interaction. So that was a huge shift. So how do you curate, Selena, that connectivity in a virtual space? How do you curate that experience, Beverly? How do you curate that experience, Alicia, Rizonia, Bessie, Colin? How do you re-engage in such an authentic way, in a disconnected world? How can I connect in an authentic way in a disconnected world? And because he pitched his pitch the right way, he was able to land his TEDx talk, and he had no previous prior stage experience.
Right. He was a behind the camera.
Behind the camera.
Yeah. And we brought him in front of the camera. So in rule number 2, and write this down, no bad science, okay? So if you are in the, mathematics and science space, you're just like, you always want to give like facts and statistics and all that. And yes, Mike, you absolutely want to do that. You got to have what we call empirical research, empirical data in order to substantiate the points that you're making in your TEDx talk. Now, we'll go deeper in that another time, but you got to make sure that the stats and the information that you use, Charmaine, that it is backed up by bodies that are reputable. Because TEDx would never want a person presenting facts or fake news in their talk that then create a fallout in other areas. So no bad science is rule number 2.
Rule number 3 is that you want to create unity and not division. Now, remember I talked about how could you have a conversation using, like a synonym. How can I say the same thing in a different way? Now, in your effort to be a disruptor, you want to create healthy disruptions. Right. Healthy disruptions that doesn't create divisiveness, but jolts the audience to sit up. So if your passion is about racism, or how do we reconnect, how do we reconnect cultures? Your discussion shouldn't be just about the ills of racism. Like, okay, we've heard this before. But if you're saying, how do we reconcile cultures?
That's right.
That's a different way of having the same discussion. Are you with me? So I want you to think about, how can I have a discussion that disrupts communities, but it disrupts it in a positive way? Somebody type in the chat, positive disruption.
Positive disruption, yes. Because there can be such thing as disagreeing, right? But we got to do it in a responsible way. All right. So we're not suggesting that everyone who you talk to on your TED Talk is going to believe your ideas and like want to run with it. No, but again, ideas that spark conversation.
Yep.
The ideas spark, right? So you can challenge existing ideas, and you should in your TED Talk, but we definitely want to make sure that you're honoring this culture of unity and not division. Right?